Claressa Shields did it again. She sat down in another interview, opened her mouth, and compared herself to Muhammad Ali, to Michael Jordan, to LeBron James, to Serena Williams in the same breath, in the same sentence, without blinking, without flinching, without a single ounce of self-awareness about what she was actually saying. And then, as if that was not already enough to make the entire internet stop mid-scroll, she looked directly into that camera and said the words that broke the whole thing wide open. "I'm the one, not the two. I'm the one, not the two." Now, if you are a Reverend fan, if you have been paying attention to the entanglement of the century, if you have watched this woman position herself next to a married man for the last 2 years while pretending that boxing is the only thing on her mind, you already know exactly what that line was. That was not a boxing quote. That was not an athletic declaration. That was a message. A coded, deliberate, aimed directly at Remy Ma message dressed up as a sports interview soundbite, and the fact that she thought nobody was going to catch it is the exact reason we are here today. Because the story everybody is watching right now, the story of Claressa Shields the boxer trying to reclaim her narrative, is not the real story. The real story is buried underneath it. The real story is about a woman who built her entire public identity around being the greatest woman to ever lace up a pair of gloves, and who has spent the last 2 years methodically dismantling that identity by making herself the co-star of somebody else's marriage. And when we get to the part of this video where we break down exactly why the brand deals are not coming, why the Zeus Network partnership is not the flex she thinks it is, and why the comparison to Serena Williams is the single most damaging sentence she has ever spoken on camera, I promise you, we are getting there. You are going to understand that this was never about boxing. This was never about hate. This was about a career that is being deliberately overshadowed by the person who owns it. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, and subscribe. Let's get into it. Now, for anybody who has somehow managed to avoid the Claressa Shields news cycle for the last 2 years, first of all, congratulations. I do not know how you did it, and second of all, let me get you caught up because you need the full context to understand why this latest interview is such a catastrophic self-inflicted wound. Claressa Shields, for those who do not know, is genuinely one of the most decorated amateur and professional boxers in the history of women's boxing. 2 Olympic gold medals. Multiple world titles across multiple weight classes. A documentary. A biopic film. A resume that, on paper, should have her name being mentioned in the same conversations as the greats of the sport. That part is not up for debate. The problem is that Claressa Shields, despite all of that resume, is not primarily known for any of it right now. She is known, reportedly, according to multiple entertainment outlets and the receipts that have been circulating for well over a year, as the woman entangled with Papoose, the rapper who has been married to Remy Ma for over a decade. And once Remy Ma reportedly exposed the situation publicly, the entire trajectory of Claressa's public image took a hard left turn and never recovered. Because here is what people do not understand about the setup we are in. Claressa did not go quiet. She did not pay the expose dust. She did not take a step back, focus on training, and let her boxing do the talking. She did the exact opposite. She went on a full press tour, reportedly hitting the BET Awards, reportedly appearing on Tamron Hall, reportedly stopping by the Breakfast Club, reportedly doing Way Up with Angela Yee. And in every single one of those appearances, according to how they have been covered across the culture blogs, the entanglement kept coming up, kept getting addressed, kept getting spun, kept getting justified, and every time she opened her mouth, the situation got worse, not better. So now we are 2 years deep into this. She has an undercard fight on the Zeus Network. She is reportedly being positioned underneath a baddies fight and a Ray J fight, as if she is not supposed to be one of the biggest names in women's combat sports. And she just gave an interview where she compared herself to Muhammad Ali. And what nobody is talking about, what everybody is missing while they are laughing at the surface-level absurdity of the Ali comparison, is that this interview is not just embarrassing. It is diagnostic. It is a window into exactly why her career is in the position it is in, and exactly why it is not going to recover on the current trajectory. The stakes here are not just personal. This is about how one of the most talented athletes in her sport reportedly traded a legacy for a relationship, and is now trying to convince us that the legacy is still intact. And the question this whole video is going to answer is the one nobody wants to sit with. Is this a hate campaign, or is this a self-inflicted wound with a very clear paper trail? Let us start with what she actually said, because the surface evidence in this interview is damning before we even get to the deeper layers. She sat down and said, and I am paraphrasing here from how it has been circulating across the commentary space, that a relationship cannot overshadow her greatness. That she is still conquering. That she is still being great right now. And on the surface, that is fine. That is what any athlete would say when the personal life becomes the story. But then the host, and this is important because the host was not being hostile, the host was being honest, said the quiet part out loud. The host reportedly told her that as a fan, sometimes it feels like the extra stuff, the entanglement stuff, the who you dating stuff, is overshadowing the talent. And instead of taking that in, instead of hearing it, instead of processing that a real fan was giving her a real piece of feedback, she immediately shut it down. Never. She said never. She said she corrects everybody on that. She said black people need to stop acting like they do not know drama sells. And that is the first piece of surface evidence, because the second she deflected, the second she blamed the audience for wanting drama instead of taking responsibility for putting the drama in front of the audience, she confirmed everything the host was gently trying to tell her. That is piece number 1. Piece number 2, and this is the one that has been going viral across every hip-hop and sports commentary space this week, is the comparison. She sat there and said, and again this is being widely reported across the commentary ecosystem, that the hate she is getting is the same hate LeBron got, the same hate Jordan got, the same hate Serena got, the same hate Muhammad Ali got. In one sentence. In one breath. She placed herself in a category with 4 of the most globally recognized athletes in modern history. And I need everybody watching this to sit with that for a second, because the audacity is not the problem. The audacity is a symptom. The problem is that she genuinely appears to believe it. Piece number 3 is the line that broke the internet. I'm the one, not the two. Now if you are unfamiliar with the reference, the Reverend song where that line lives is a very specific type of song. It is a song about being the main girl, the priority, the one being chosen. And the second she said that in a boxing interview, every commentator in the space understood exactly who that was aimed at. That was reportedly aimed at Remy Ma. In a boxing interview. Promoting a fight. On the Zeus Network. She used her platform to send a shot at the wife of the man she is reportedly entangled with. And piece number 4, which nobody is talking about but should be, is the moment where she pivoted from talking about her boxing greatness to talking about her physical appearance, her teeth, her body, and how her man reportedly likes her body. In a boxing interview. Promoting a fight. About her boxing career. The evidence on the surface is not just that she said something embarrassing. The evidence is that across the entire interview, at every possible pivot point, she chose the entanglement over the sport. Every single time. And when you watch it back, you realize the host was not overshadowing her career. She was overshadowing her own career in real time, on camera, and blaming everybody else for noticing. And oh, do I have more for you? Because if you thought the interview itself was the whole story, you have not been paying attention to what has been happening around it. The reactions, the receipts, the deleted posts, the timeline, this is where the story stops being about one bad interview and starts being about a pattern that has been building for 2 years. And the fans who have been defending this situation from day one are really not going to like what is coming up in this next section, because the cultural evidence is where the whole "everybody just hates me because I'm great" narrative completely falls apart. Stay with me. This is the part where the receipts stop being about her words and start being about everybody else's reaction to her words. Because here is the thing about the cultural evidence layer. It does not come from Claressa. It comes from everybody around her, and everybody around her has been telling on this situation for months. Start with Cris Cyborg. Cris Cyborg, one of the most decorated women in combat sports history, reportedly referred to the current landscape around Claressa as duck hunting season. That is not a random insult. That is a peer, a fellow elite combat sports athlete, publicly signaling that the respect from inside the sport is not where Claressa needs it to be. That is cultural evidence piece number 1, and it comes from a place that matters, the actual community of women who compete at the highest levels of combat sports. Piece number 2 is the Amanda Serrano situation. Amanda Serrano is on the verge of tying a historic knockout record. Amanda Serrano is approaching a 50th career win. Amanda Serrano is doing legendary numbers. And instead of celebrating a peer, instead of showing the sportsmanship that legends like Ali and Serena were actually known for behind the scenes, Claressa reportedly threw shade at the size of the venue Amanda fought in. 7,000 fans. She dragged the 7,000 fan venue, the same type of venue that reportedly hosted legendary fights across boxing history. That is not a great acting like a great. That is a competitor punching sideways at another competitor's moment. Piece number 3 is the Alicia Baumgardner situation. Alicia Baumgardner wins a fight, has her moment, and Claressa reportedly could not even give her the respect of a clean congratulations. Reports have circulated for months about tension between the two, and there have been reports of a physical incident at an MVP promotions event that has been discussed extensively across the combat sports commentary ecosystem. Piece number 4 is the Angel Reese and Aya Wilson situation with BET. For 2 years running now, according to the way this has been covered, the BET Sportswoman of the Year moments belonging to Angel Reese and Aya Wilson have reportedly been overshadowed by the Claressa and Papoose dynamic showing up in the middle of their nights. 2 years. 2 different women. 2 different moments that were supposed to belong to them. And in both cases, the story reportedly shifted from the winner to the entanglement in the room. And I know somebody watching this right now is going to say, wait a minute, this is not fair. She is a great. She deserves to be there. And that is true. She deserves to be there as an athlete. But there is a difference between attending an event and pulling the spotlight off the honoree. And the pattern here is not 1 time. It is not 2 times. It is a documented pattern of moments where somebody else's spotlight becomes about the entanglement in the corner. And I want to acknowledge the counterargument here because I think it is important. Somebody is going to say, well, the media is the one making it about the entanglement, not her. And that is a fair point on the surface. But here is where that counterargument falls apart. She chose to bring Papoose to those events. She chose to make the entanglement public. She chose to do the press tour. Reportedly, in the immediate aftermath of the expose, the decision was made to lean into the visibility instead of stepping back from it. So the media is not manufacturing the story out of nothing. The media is reporting on the visibility that was reportedly chosen. That is a critical distinction, and it is the distinction that separates hate from consequence. Piece number 5, which ties this all together, is the wife factor. Remy Ma is not some bitter ex making noise. Remy Ma is a respected veteran in hip-hop with her own career, her own resume, her own community of supporters, and reportedly the receipts. And when the wife has receipts and the mistress has a Zeus Network undercard, the culture eventually makes up its mind about who is credible. And the tide has turned. This is not a controversial statement anymore across the commentary ecosystem. The community has largely decided which side of this story it stands on, and it is not the side currently comparing itself to Muhammad Ali. The cultural evidence does not lie. And what is coming next is where this stops being about culture and starts being about the actual business machinery that determines whether a career like this survives or does not. Now I need us to shift gears completely because the entertainment layer of this story is only the appetizer. The real story, the one that explains everything, the one that connects every embarrassing interview and every awkward red carpet moment and every viral clip, is the business layer. And this is where I need everybody watching to lock in, because what I am about to walk you through is the reason her career is in the position it is in, and it has nothing to do with her boxing skill and everything to do with the machinery underneath it. There are 3 separate systemic angles here, and all 3 lead to the same conclusion. Angle 1 is the brand deal ecosystem. When you look at Muhammad Ali, when you look at Michael Jordan, when you look at LeBron James, when you look at Serena Williams, the 4 names Claressa reportedly compared herself to. The thing you have to understand about those athletes is that their greatness was monetized by an entire brand infrastructure around them. Nike, Gatorade, McDonald's, Samsung, Beats, Kia, Under Armour, State Farm. The endorsement dollars for those athletes at various points in their careers reportedly ranged into the hundreds of millions collectively. That is not because they were the greatest at what they did. Plenty of great athletes never see that kind of money. It is because they were marketable at what they did. Marketability is not the same as greatness. Marketability is a separate business calculation that brands make based on trust, based on public perception, based on the risk of associating a corporate logo with a specific human being. And here is where the systemic angle gets brutal for Claressa. A woman who is reportedly publicly involved with a married man is, by the internal risk assessment logic of major brand marketing departments, a marketability liability. Not because of a moral judgment. Because of a business calculation. Corporate marketing departments reportedly do not want to attach billion-dollar logos to headlines that involve wives, mistresses, and text message leaks. That is not opinion. That is how the endorsement industry has reportedly operated for decades across sports, entertainment, and music. So when Claressa reportedly compared herself to Serena, the actual comparison being made was between an athlete with a reported cathedral of endorsement deals and an athlete whose brand deal pipeline has reportedly narrowed to the Zeus Network. Those are not the same category. That is not hate. That is the endorsement industry doing what the endorsement industry has always done. Angle 2 is the fight promotion economy. In women's boxing, the promotion economy is fundamentally different from the men's economy. There are fewer major promoters. There are fewer major broadcast partners. There is more reliance on marquee matchups and less on legacy PPV franchises. Which means every fight has to be marketed on a specific story, the story of the fighter, the story of the matchup, the story of what is at stake. And here is the systemic problem. When your story becomes the entanglement instead of the boxing, the fight marketing has to work around the entanglement rather than through the boxing. Which is reportedly exactly why we are now watching a two-time Olympic gold medalist positioned as the undercard on a card headlined by a baddies fight and a Ray J celebrity boxing event. That is not a coincidence. That is a promotional calculation. When the biggest promoters and broadcast partners in boxing look at a fighter whose headlines are reportedly dominated by an entanglement story, they do not stop booking the fighter, but they do stop building around the fighter. The fighter becomes a piece on somebody else's card instead of the headline of their own card. And once that shift happens in a sport as marketing-driven as women's boxing, the trajectory is very hard to reverse. Angle 3, and this is the one that ties everything together, is the media perception loop. In modern sports media, an athlete's career trajectory is not just about wins and losses. It is about the perception loop. Every interview reportedly feeds the loop. Every red carpet reportedly feeds the loop. Every social media post reportedly feeds the loop. And the loop determines what stories get written next, what interviews get requested next, what brand meetings get scheduled next. When an athlete like Claressa reportedly walks into interview after interview and pivots to the entanglement, the perception loop is not being fed with boxing content. The perception loop is being fed with drama content. And here is the systemic consequence. The media that would otherwise be writing the greatest of all time, narrative starts writing the controversy magnet narrative instead. Once that narrative flip happens, it is reportedly very difficult to reverse, because every subsequent interview gets booked around the drama, which reinforces the drama narrative, which further crowds out the boxing narrative. And that is exactly what has reportedly happened here. She is not being denied her flowers because of hate. She is being denied her flowers because the perception loop that would deliver those flowers is reportedly clogged with a story she keeps refusing to stop feeding. 3 angles. Endorsement machinery. Fight promotion economy. Media perception loop. All 3 saying the same thing. The overshadowing is not being done by the audience. The overshadowing is being done by the decisions. Which brings us to what I think is the biggest truth of this entire video. The truth that every commentary channel has been dancing around, but nobody has said out loud yet. Claressa Shields is not a victim of a hate campaign. Claressa Shields is, by every reported piece of evidence available, the architect of her own overshadowed career. And I do not say that lightly. I do not say that as a hit piece. I do not say that because I dislike her as an athlete, because as I said at the top of this video, her boxing resume, on paper, is genuinely elite. I say it because when you line up the entire timeline of the last 2 years, the through line is not hate. The through line is choice. She reportedly chose to make the entanglement public after the expose instead of staying quiet. She reportedly chose to attend the events with the situation instead of separating the two. She reportedly chose to send shots at the wife in interviews about boxing instead of talking about boxing. She reportedly chose to compare herself to Muhammad Ali, to Serena Williams, to Michael Jordan, to LeBron James, knowing that comparison invited a scrutiny her current situation cannot survive. And the biggest truth of all, the one that connects every angle we have talked about in this video, is this: the "I'm the one, not the two" line was not a boxing line. That was a message. That was a shot. That was, according to how the entire commentary ecosystem has read it, reportedly a coded declaration aimed at the woman she is competing with for the attention of a man who has reportedly not divorced his wife, has reportedly not covered his Remy tattoo, and has reportedly not removed the years of public tribute to his marriage from his social media presence. And here is the devastating part. The line was not just embarrassing because of what it said. The line was devastating because of what it revealed. It revealed that even in a boxing interview, even in a moment that was supposed to be about her sport, even on a platform that was reportedly supposed to be promoting her fight, the competition on her mind was not her opponent in the ring. The competition on her mind was the wife. And once the audience saw that, and the audience saw that instantly, the clips went everywhere, the reactions were unanimous. The entire framing of "my boxing greatness is being overshadowed" collapsed. Because you cannot claim your greatness is being overshadowed by outside forces in the same interview where you are personally overshadowing your own greatness with a coded shot at somebody else's marriage. That is the truth bomb. That is the reveal. And the consequence of that reveal is that every future interview, every future press tour, every future brand meeting, every future promotional cycle for the rest of this era of her career is going to be filtered through that one line. Because that one line is the confession. That one line is the moment where the mask slipped. That one line is the piece of evidence that the entanglement is not a distraction from the career. The entanglement is the career, at least in the way it is currently being publicly presented. And that is the reveal that changes how you read every other piece of evidence in this video. But here is the part that gives me actual hope, and here is where the story lands somewhere real. The right person, in this entire story, is still winning without saying a word. Remy Ma has not needed to go on a press tour. Remy Ma has not needed to compare herself to anybody. Remy Ma has not needed to sit down with hosts and defend her marriage or her position or her legacy. Because the receipts, according to the culture, reportedly speak for themselves. The wife who reportedly held her husband down through incarceration, who reportedly built a career on her own terms, who reportedly walked into every room in this genre with her head up and her name intact, that is the woman who did not have to say a word this week. She did not have to react to the interview. She did not have to respond to the "I'm the one, not the two" line. She did not have to do anything. Because the audience already knew. The audience already sided. The audience already decided. And that is what winning looks like without needing to broadcast it. And I want to zoom this out even wider for a second, because this is not just about one interview or one entanglement or one fight card. This is about a larger truth in the culture. The women who do the work, who protect their peace, who carry themselves with a kind of quiet integrity even when the internet is trying to drag them into somebody else's mess, those are the women who reportedly win the long game every single time. History has shown us that. The receipts have shown us that. And the reason the audience has landed where it has landed on this story is not because the audience hates Claressa. It is because the audience recognizes, on an instinctive level, which side of the story is aligned with that quiet integrity and which side is aligned with the noise. And here is the sharpest contrast I can offer you in one sentence. One woman is fighting for her peace. The other woman is fighting for a platform. And the audience, over time, will always choose peace over platform. That is not sentimentality. That is a pattern. It is a pattern you can see in the way Serena's legacy has landed, in the way certain veteran women in hip-hop have kept their names intact through decades of drama around them, in the way that the athletes and artists who protect their peace tend to be the ones who outlast the athletes and artists who cannot stop fighting outside their own sport. So when everything settles, when the interview cycle dies down, when the next viral clip replaces this one, the receipts are going to sit exactly where they have always sat. And the right person is going to still be standing exactly where she has always been standing. Which is exactly where the story was always going to land, if you were reading it correctly from the beginning. And this, I promise you, is only the start. Because there are two things I am watching right now, and both of them are going to make this story escalate in a way that most people are not ready for. The first thing I am watching is the Zeus Network undercard positioning. Because if the fight underperforms, and the early reports on the promotion for that card are reportedly not what a two-time Olympic gold medalist's promotional cycle should look like, the fallout from that underperformance is going to reshape the next 12 months of her career. Where does she go next? What promoter picks up the next fight? What broadcaster attaches to the next matchup? Those questions are going to get answered very publicly and very soon, and I am going to be watching every single move. The second thing I am watching is the entanglement itself. Because the pattern here has been the same for 2 years: new interview, new headline, new coded message, same underlying situation, same lack of forward movement. And at some point, that pattern reportedly has to break in one direction or the other. Either the situation gets formalized in a way that actually reshapes her public narrative, or the situation reportedly collapses in a way that leaves her having to rebuild her identity from scratch. Neither of those outcomes is going to happen quietly. Both of them are going to be documented, dissected, and discussed across every commentary space in this genre. and you are not going to want to miss a single beat of it. So do me the biggest favor, hit that subscribe button, turn the notifications on, drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know which side of the story you are actually on, because I want to hear it. And if you have made it this far into this video, you are amazing, and I appreciate every single one of you for locking in for the full breakdown. Now, if you want to know why Papoose himself has reportedly gone from a beloved husband figure in the culture to a name that keeps showing up in the messiest headlines of the year, and I am talking about the tattoo situation, the social media pattern. And the reason the divorce that keeps getting hinted at reportedly has not actually happened. The next video breaks it all down piece by piece. The receipts are wild. The timeline is worse. And by the time you get to the deleted post section of that breakdown, you are going to understand exactly why this entire entanglement is built on a foundation that reportedly was never solid to begin with. Click it, watch it, and I will see you in the next one.